Good morning and welcome to Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network. And we have a couple of newspapers this morning to analyze. And talking about the stories this morning is Adebayo Fajimi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Let's begin from this day newspaper. From the very top, cash-strapped federal government to utilize part of Eurobond domestic borrowing to finance fuel subsidy. That story continues on page 10 of this day newspaper. And then underneath that, we see with worsening power supply, rising price of diesel, OPS foresees tough economic environment. That story is on page 5 of this day newspaper. Just underneath the tag this day right there, NBS, foreign trade recorded 1.96 trillion naira deficit in 2021. And that's on page 51 of the paper. The banner headline there is, despite Akpanadohi's optimistic statement, Buni-led reconsidered positions. There are a couple of others. The first, CECPC Secretary commends INEC for standing firm, says party is crisis-free. And then reconciliation still ongoing, Ganduje declares. And the third one, party commences sale of forms ahead of convention. Chairmanship goes for 20 million naira. And the last rider says, bid to vacate order stopping convention suffers setback. And of course, we see this story on other newspapers this morning, like on the Daily Independent newspaper. The banner headline there is, APC retraces steps, returns Buni-led caretaker committee. And we have a couple of others right there that does resonate with this day newspaper. Mr. Adebayo, how do you react to this APC story, looking at what has happened in the party in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I would say it's a good one for the party, thumbs up for them, knowing fully well that they cannot go to the convention with a divided house, let alone 2023 general election. So even at that, there is still a lot of crisis. The crisis is not yet totally solved, so there is still more for them to do. And just like last week, INEC reject Governor Sonny Bello led committee and said the commission said they did not recognize his leadership because by the time they were trying to change the pattern of the leadership, they were not informed. So, and I think that's a very good one for INEC, and I'm very sure that the party will do the needful, going forward to ensure that the party is each free, and so that they can also go to the general election next year and win or whatever their intention is.
So you do think that with this news right now, the party is ready for the 2023 general elections?
I will not say they are really ready, but at least they are making move. Of course, they are retracing their step, because if you look at the trajectory and what happened, with Mala Buni
yes,
committee and Sonny Bello, so you can see that according to the governor, there was no due process. It was outside the country, and even I read the letter that he wrote before he left, that the governor should take over, that after that he should take over because it's going out of the country for medical checkup
until he comes back.
Until he comes back, not outrightly that it will continue
his tenure.
So there has been back and forth, in the party, and that tells you that all is not well. So as a result of that, you don't expect everything to be all right. Even if you are the one, you will feel somehow. And the party knows that if they should go ahead, you can see a couple of days now, the party shifted the secretariat from Abuja to London. Every one of them, they are just going to meet President Buhari in London to discuss issues. So I think they also know that it's not going to be well with them if they should go ahead with that, because Mala Buni is not a pushover, and a couple of people who are supporting him in the party. So that's why I say it's a good one for them. But even with this, we cannot say all is still well with the party. There is still a lot for them to do. There is still a lot of crisis for them to resolve. But at least with this development, we can be hopeful that at least they are taking the right step in the right direction. Going forward, to the convention. All
right, those stories are on this day newspaper for this morning, and of course the Daily Independent newspaper banner headlines. Still on this day, just underneath the picture of the day there, we see Falana Echoes judgment sacking Umahi, deputy, 15 legislators in tandem with law. That story is on page 50 of this day newspaper. We move over to the leadership newspaper from the very top. 20 bandits, 3 policemen, 4 vigilantes killed in Niger attack. That's on page 31 of the leadership newspaper. Amechi opposes 12% Nimasa revenue for maritime varsity. Of course, that's still in the newspaper. And then Nigeria's 2022 budget deficit may hit 10 trillion naira as oil export drops. That story continues on page 7 of this the leadership paper. And then we see PDP neck to produce schedule for party primary. That's on page 7. And of course, this story, of course, that was spoken about, the big story for today, talking about as Buni finally takes charge, INEC confirms attendance of APC NEC meeting tomorrow. Of course, we look forward to what's going to happen. And of course, we're sure that we'll talk about it tomorrow in the studio. That story is on page 4 of the leadership paper. A couple of others there. And besides that, we see reps vow to recover 2.6 trillion naira oil and gas debt. And that's on page 26. And donor funding for family planning declines by $10 million in 3 years. And then we see Zelensky seeks Canada's support for Ukraine no-flying zone. That's coming on the leadership newspaper for today. We move over to the national economy. Global gas supply disruption opportunity for Nigeria's additional FX earnings. That's talking about expert, talking about global gas supply disruption. It's an opportunity for Nigeria's additional FX earnings. But let's quickly talk about a story on the Nigerian Pilot newspaper from the very top. Losing 2023 presidential election may end PDP, warns Atiku. That's coming on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. We do know that the former vice president of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has so much to say about the party PDP and general elections. What is your take on his statement?
Well, knowing fully well that it's one of the biggest big wigs in the party, but I don't think this statement is what is going to count, because I remember prior to 2019 general election, a lot of statements were also made. So when we are approaching a situation like this, especially electoral processes or electioneering processes, there are a lot of statements that will come out from politicians. So it is a tradition for them to make all manner of statements to ensure that they hit into the emotion of people for one reason or the other. So in 2019, a lot of things were said that if PDP do not get it now, they will never get it again, this, that. Eventually, we still have, PDP governors in some of the states. So yes, that did not mean that the end has come to the PDP. So you can only talk about that at the national level. So, but with this, I don't think it is very necessary for Atiku Abubakar. Instead of this, I think what they should be doing is to be making moves to ensure that the house, the party at the center, and for them to ensure that they come back to the center and reposition the trust that Nigerians have lost in them.
I still see Atiku Abubakar, making some statements still on this newspapers. Like in Daily Independent, he said, "Why I rejected Tinubu as running mate in 2007 under AC." And of course, still on this day newspaper, he said, "I didn't run against Obasanjo in 2003 to sustain zoning policy." He explains why he rejected Tinubu as running mate in 2007. All of this statement, do you see, is trying to gain traction come the 2023 general elections?
Of course, that's my belief. Politicians can do anything. They can cook story, they can do whatever they like. So they tell you something today, the other day, the narrative is changed. So I don't really expect much from me, and like and having politicians in Nigeria, what they can come up with.
Oh, definitely, I do agree with you on that one. We move over to national economy, of course. We've spoken about the Buhari headline, but from the very top, we see equities participation by foreign investors dwindles to 41.3 billion naira, and that's on page 4 of the national economy. Under the newspaper right there on the bottom, National Grid suffers second collapse in 2 days. That's on page 4. And then federal government licenses airline operators to import fuel to ease shortage. We see Nigeria generates over $3 billion from non-oil export in 2021. And that's on the national economy. We move over to the Daily Independent. Of course, we've spoken about some stories there. We see fuel scarcity pushes Nigeria's inflation up to 15.70%. And then underneath the picture of the day there, we see federal government to tap Eurobond cash borrowing for fuel subsidy as oil prices rise. And that's on page, of course, continues on page 7 of Daily Independent newspaper. We'll move over to the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. I've spoken about the story, the report talking about Atiku losing 2023 presidential election may end PDP. And of course, that story is on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot. From the bottom, we see Nigeria recorded 15% inflation rate in February 2022. That's coming from NBS. All of these stories are on the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. And don't forget, you can always stay updated on our website. That is www.tostvnetwork.com for more stories and, of course, updates on everything we've read out to you this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, viewers. Don't forget, we'll come your way every Mondays to Fridays. We always here, right here. Our social media platform is at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And don't forget to like and stay engaged. My name is Merciful Ajinomo. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.